video is gonna be so fucking long. I read so many books this month and I can't speak about any of them. Just to give you some context, I literally didn't go to sleep until like 6 o'clock this morning and got maybe 4 hours of sleep, and I'm actually dying. Just trying to make words right now is hard, much less remember a book I read 3 weeks ago. Hey guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda. If you're new here, I like to read a little bit. In today's video, I'm going to do my October wrap up. However, I feel like a little bit of a fraud because October is not over yet. It is currently October 30th. I have like severe filming anxiety when my partner is home, so I feel like I can't film if he's here, if he's in the other room. So he's only not here on Wednesday and Thursday, and today would be Thursday, October 30th. Even though the month isn't over, I am just gonna go ahead and film my wrap up because I am only gonna finish one more book before the end of the month, and I'll just go ahead and talk about it because I don't really see it getting any better or worse. Anyways, let's get into it. If the sun doesn't stop going away as soon as I get to the important parts, I swear to God, everything is fine. This will give me a moment to catch up on what I read at the beginning of the month because I truly don't remember. Are we gonna come back? I fear the lighting is just gonna be absolutely terrible today, and there's unfortunately not a whole lot I can do about that. So I'm just gonna continue because literally who cares? Anyways, the first book that I read this month was Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This is obviously a universally well-loved YA fantasy, or romantasy rather. I can get behind the hype of this one. This one was actually really good. I was actually like surprisingly impressed by the writing because if you don't know Lauren Roberts, Miss Ma'am was only 18 years old when she wrote this book. First of all, does that come through in her writing? Absolutely. You can tell that she is young, she is inexperienced when it comes to writing. However, knowing that fact also makes the writing that much better because you're like, wow, this girl was 18. She did not know what she was doing and she did this? That's crazy. So this book follows Peyton and Kai. Peyton is this really poor girl living in a world of elites, which are the people in her world that have powers. There are also people in her world like her that are called ordinaries. These are people who do not have powers whatsoever. Now, in her world, ordinaries are not allowed to exist. Her parents, who brought her into this world, obviously, they knew that she was going to be powerless. They decided pretty early on that they needed to teach her something that was going to look like she had powers so that she wasn't hunted to death her entire life. The ability that she claims to have is essentially being a psychic. It's really comical because she's really good at it and people can't tell that she doesn't have powers. One day, she is stealing from this really rich man that she sees on the street, and lag. After she steals from this man, he ends up almost dying and she has to save him. And because she ends up saving him, well, first of all, she doesn't know who he is. He is actually the prince of like the second son of the king in this world. I'm explaining this so horribly. Who was his brother? Her sister was a witch.
Her sister was a witch, right?
That is so stuck in my head. If you know, you know. Oh my God, what was his better name? Prince Kai and Alexa, what is the brother from Powerless?
From Goodreads.com, the powerless person alluded to in the title is the author's younger brother, Oliver, who was born blind, mute, and severely cognitively impaired.
What? Alexa, who is the brother of Kai from Powerless by Lauren Roberts?
From PasteMagazine.com, set during the events of Fearless, Fearful follows Kai's brother.
Oh my God.
Whose story
Alexa off. Whoa, spoilers. Okay, but I got what I needed. His name is Kit. In this world, there's a king. He has two sons. You have Prince Kai and Prince Kit. Kit is the son who is set to be king after their father passes away. Kai, on the other hand, is known as the Royal Enforcer, which pretty much means he is the murderer for the king and the royal family. Anybody or anything that they want dead for any reason at all, he's the one who has to execute them. However, he is kind of a sympathizer. Anytime he is told to kill off somebody, he's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And then he pretty much ends up letting these people go. Anyway, that was a little bit of context for you. Ends up running into Kai. She doesn't know that it's Prince Kai because she's so poor that she doesn't know who these people are. She ends up stealing from Prince Kai and then saving him. And everyone in the town is like, OMG, you just saved Prince Kai. And she was like, huh? She ends up getting a lot of unwanted attention. And she actually grabs the attention of the royal family, who puts on this set of trials every year. Say what it's called. It's just called the Trials. Super original name. It's an annual competition where the elites, they essentially fight to the death. They're like, oh my god, you are amazing for saving Prince Kai. You get to be in the trials this year. And she's like, because she is powerless. And it just kind of unfolds from there. I won't go into any additional detail. I'm going to get into spoiler territory. Just know that it ends up being a romantasy between Prince Kai, obviously, and Peyton. Kai Azar, the man that you are. I rated this book 4.5 stars, BTW. And if you're wondering, did I have the intention of finishing the series this month? No. Should I have? Yeah, probably. And after I read this, I was like, you know what? I should go ahead and read Powerful, which is the first novella in this trilogy that ended up being 5 books because it has 2 novellas. So this is the first novella, and it essentially follows Hayden's best friend. Her name is Adina. Trying really hard not to spoil things. When Hayden gets sent to the trials, she's like physically separated from the world that she's used to. So she gets separated from her best friend, Adina. This book follows the events that happened to Adina before... Crap, I can't say that either. If you know, you know. It's really hard not to spoil this. Just know it just follows Adina's POV of events when Peyton gets sent to the trials. It's really short. It was very good. I rated it 4 stars. I won't say much more about it because I am literally this close to spoiling something. Anyways, I'm gonna move on. Book 3 that I read this month, I wasn't planning on reading this like anytime soon. However, after I got done with Powerless, I was like, your girl wants some more fantasy. I wanted like a darker fantasy. So I picked up Gild by Raven Kennedy. Holy wowie. Let me just say, if you've not read this book and you're thinking about it, make sure you look at the triggers. I'm not triggered by most things, so like nothing in this book really bothered me, but I was like, damn, you know, there was a lot of stuff happening. This book follows the single POV of the female main character named Oren. She is literally gold-plated because she lives in a world with King Midas. If you're unfamiliar with King Midas, it is a very old story of a king who basically has the golden touch, literally. So everything he touches literally turns to gold. King Midas is in this story, and at some point he stumbles upon Oren and touches her, and now she's made of gold. She's not solid gold like a statue, but she is gold. Anyway, she is considered the king's most precious royal saddle. I believe that a saddle is kind of like a servant. Anything that he needs, she is one of the people that's fulfilling those needs. Yeah, more than just getting him drinks and whatnot. She is behind a gilded cage, literally. So like in his gigantic palace, he has this like wing that's specifically for her. So she's not like in this really small cage or anything, but she has rooms. So she has like a couple of rooms, but they're literally behind a cage. She literally can't get out. Where did it go from there? I'm trying to even remember the plot of the story, which is really unfortunate because it was really, really good. And this was another mistake of just, girl, why didn't you continue the series after you read the first one? Because you know you have a pea brain. For some reason, they are transporting Oren to another kingdom. I believe it's because King Midas is like bartering her with another king. In the process of her getting there, she ends up getting stolen by someone else, and that's kind of the journey of the first book. I am so incredibly sorry if you came here looking for really good explanations of what books are about. I fear this isn't the place. Next on my list, this was One Golden Summer by Carley Fortune. She is a little annotated. This is a very special book because I got this copy from my mom. This is actually the book that she was reading while we went on our vacation in September. It's a little special. I ended up picking this one up because I got my library hold of the audiobook and figured, why not? It's still essentially summer in Florida because we don't really have seasons. Figured, why not? Before the vibes get too fall wintry, we may as well go ahead and finish up a summer romance. Couple of things. This is my first Carley Fortune book. I have gathered that it might be her best. So even though I really enjoyed this book, I don't have any plans to go and like read her backlist. I also didn't realize before I read this that I apparently was supposed to read Every Summer After first. However, I'm glad I didn't because I don't care about what Charlie did before this book. Oh, I do not remember. I could not have told you that's what the female main character's first name was. This book follows a single POV of our female main character named Alice. Alice is currently 32, about to turn 33. Just like me, I literally just turned 33 the other day ago and I've never looked older in my life. In case you're wondering. I never felt older in my life than I do right now, so that's just girly things. The story follows Alice, who is currently on an island in Canada helping her grandmother who just had hip surgery, and they are staying in like a lakeside cabin that she went to once before when she was 17 with her grandparents. The first time Alice was at this lake house, across the lake she saw a group of friends that were having such a good time. She was like, oh my god, I would love to be friends with them, too shy to ask them to hang out, whatever. However, she ended up snapping a picture of this group of friends hanging out. Now, flashing forward however many years, she's now 32, and she is an accomplished photographer. This picture that she took of the group of friends ended up being the first professional photo that she ever put out into the world, the first photo that ever sold. It kind of like jumpstarted her career, so this photo means a lot to her. In this picture is someone who she ends up running into after she gets onto the island. His name is Charlie. It's just another person who happens to be staying there, and he's actually like doing renovations on the cabin that's across the lake. I don't remember exactly how this occurred, but somehow him and Alice end up becoming friends, and she tells him about this bucket list that she had when she was 17, and it's kind of ridiculous but kind of cute. And he's like, you know what? Let's turn this into your summer of fun, and let's try to complete your bucket list together. And that's what they do, and over the course of that, they obviously end up falling in love, and it's their romance. Let me just say, extremely similar vibes to Beach Read by Emily Henry. I am getting goosebumps just thinking about it, even though I don't remember a lot of it right now. Some of the quotes that are in here are just gut-wrenching. Okay, so like this one, for example, they're talking about love languages. Carley says, but the thing about love languages is it's not just about how we express love, but how we receive love. You need someone to do that for you who makes you feel loved, someone to help you. And she said, I hate asking for help. He said, that's because deep down you want someone to see what you need before you have to ask. I am in this book and I don't like it. This book had some magic in it, and if you were thinking about picking it up, I 1000% would recommend. I rated this 4.5 stars, by the way. This is pure chaos. The next book that I read was The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandanna. I picked this one up because of obvious reasons. I wanted to kind of go away from the summery vibes and get more into the spooky vibes. I have heard quite literally nothing but good things about this book. Unfortunately, I'm going to be that person who didn't love it. I ended up rating this book 2.5 stars. I think what I learned from this book is I officially do not like cozy fantasy. Just not my thing right now. I don't know if it was just a mood thing. I don't know. All I know is I didn't really like it. Story follows our main character, Mika, though it is told from third person point of view, by the way. So you do get information about the other characters that are not Mika. But it essentially follows Mika, who is a real witch. However, in her world, witches are not allowed to convene in groups. They're like led to believe that their magic gets too strong or something, so they're not allowed to congregate. So Mika is in this group she calls the Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. She is posting on social media about being a witch. The people in her group, they are like, bro, can you literally not post on the internet about being a witch? You're literally like not, no one is supposed to know that witches exist. And she's like, oh, I'm just playing around. No one's actually gonna know that I'm a witch. There's a group of people who live somewhere nearby, and they end up clocking that she is in fact a real witch by seeing her videos online. And they end up actually reaching out to her because they need her to come to their house where they have 3 children who are witches. They need someone to teach these children magic and how to be a witch, which is basically what ends up happening. So my biggest complaint about this, other than the fact that I just generally didn't like it, is that this story was so wholesome. The romance wasn't like a main point. It was like a really, really, really small side plot. This story like mainly focused on the children. And then at the very end of the book, there was a spicy scene. And I was like, what is going on here? Really, really, really did not like that. So like I was already super not loving it, and that really made it a lot worse. So moving on to book number 6 of this month. I actually read one of the mangas that was on my shelf. This one is called Otaku Vampire's Love Bite, Volume 1 by Julietta Suzuki. This was adorable. So it follows this girl who's obsessed with this vampire anime, and this boy ends up moving next door to her, and he looks exactly like her bias from that show. If you don't know this terminology, that just means like the person that she likes most from that show. She wants to be friends with him desperately because she's like, oh my god, you look like this person that I love. And he's like, okay, but that's literally not me, like relax. However, they end up becoming friends, and he finds out at some point that she is actually a real vampire as well. She's been trying really hard not to bite him, but she kind of wants to, but she doesn't know how to tell him that she's a vampire. And then there's another person who's involved who's a vampire, is also like going after him. I don't know. It was enjoyable. I give it 4 stars. I put in my review that I wish I had all of them right now because I would have just wanted to continue because it was very enjoyable. However, this is going to be another case of I should have finished the series while I was reading it because I'm not going to remember shit. Moving on to book number 7 of the month. Literally the first sentence of my review says long sigh. Next book is called Bewitchingly Hers by Jennifer Chipman, which is technically the 3rd book in a series that has 2 books that come before it, obviously. And on brand, I didn't read the first 2 because I honestly didn't even know that this was part of a series. And to be fair, it's an interconnected standalone, so like it's not that serious. If you want to read this one and skip the first 2, not a big deal. I rated this 2.5 stars, unfortunately. Like I said in my review, I desperately wanted to love this. This story follows Erin, who is a witch. I am so sick of the word witch. Her sister was a witch!
Her sister was a witch! Right?
It's so stuck in my head, guys. Oh my god. Literally like my, what is it called? My verbal stem today. I'm annoying myself about it. Erin's a witch who lives in a place called Pleasant Grove. In Pleasant Grove, this is a place that's been warded for a very long time, which basically just means there's like this gigantic shield over it that's powered by magic. And it's essentially keeping out everybody. It initially was intended to only keep out the humans that were hunting witches at the time. However, you find out that it's also been keeping out any other type of paranormal beings, to the point where the witches who live in Pleasant Grove don't know that these other paranormal beings exist. In book 1 and book 2, there are 2 sisters who own a coffee shop that Erin works at. In those first 2 books, they both end up getting with a paranormal being. So in this story, they do understand that other supernatural beings exist, and the main mystery of this story is that they're trying to figure out how the warded magic is no longer keeping out these supernatural beings. Like how are these other creatures getting in? One night, Erin is working at the coffee shop, and she walks out back and she finds a severely injured wolf. And Aaron ends up taking this wolf inside the coffee shop, taking care of him and trying to nurse him back to health. What she doesn't know is this wolf is in fact not a wolf. He is a wolf shifter. He is just currently stuck in his wolf form because he is so badly injured. If he was to switch back to his human form, he would essentially die. So she ends up being able to heal him to the point of him being able to continue on living. They end up kind of having this domesticated relationship for a little bit because he is staying with her. She finds out he is actually a monster hunter. So he was hunting something before he ended up stumbling into their town, and she tells him, hey, kind of weird that you're here. These other two girls had demons who came into our world. What is going on? Why is our magical shield not working anymore? So he ends up staying to investigate. I actually have a list of things that were wrong in this book. Let's read them. Number 1, the amount of errors in this book. Oh my God. Oh my God. As a self-published indie author myself, I absolutely understand not having the money to have an editor, having to reread your own story 500 million fucking times to catch all the errors. Listen, I totally get it. However, this is your third, at least your third published book. Girl, please, for the love of God, hire an editor. Number 2, the amount of times that the word mate was used in this book. Oh my fucking God. I am someone who, first of all, if you didn't already know, am hella neurodivergent. And one thing that my little pea brain likes to pick up on is patterns. And I find patterns in words. If a specific word or phrase is used multiple times, my brain is going to clock that. And normally it's said a few times and my brain is like, okay, you said that kind of a lot, but it's fine. When I tell you the word mate was used probably over 1,000 times, I am a very overdramatic person and I am not exaggerating right now. It literally was used so many times that it has literally now pushed Mate by Ali Hazelwood down on my TBR priority list because I absolutely can't stand this word right now because it was said so many goddamn times. Number 3, the plot of the story actually ended around the 75 to 80% mark. What was the other 20%? It was essentially an epilogue that lasted for 20%. And then there was an epilogue. And then there was an extended epilogue. Girl, if you don't wrap this story the fuck up, I swear to God. That's what I was thinking the last 20%. Because it was utterly useless. You really did not need to put that in there. Number 4, the entire conflict that made up the plot besides the romance was extremely intriguing. Like, once it was explained and then resolved, that happened in literally like a page. The way that it wrapped up was so wildly anticlimactic. I was like, you had me there, and you lost me. Number 5, this was unnecessarily spicy. Listen, I am not one to normally complain about spice levels. I enjoy a lot of spice in my food and my books. This one, unnecessarily spicy. Once the characters started doing the spice thing, it was like every other chapter. And I was like, my God, relax. This book has a good premise. Just go with that. You literally don't need to have 75 spicy scenes in a 350-page book. This had such a promising premise. And to be fair, I enjoyed at least 60% of this book. However, the other 40%, which was unnecessary spice, anticlimactic endings to things, it just really ruined it for me. As I said, I rated this only 2.5 stars. Would I recommend it? Maybe, because it was really good for the vibes. The vibes in this book were excellent, witchy, spooky, October, fall time. That was wonderful. I did enjoy the romance of this book. However, the other stuff that I've already mentioned just, completely ruined it for me. Anyways, I'm gonna move on. After I got done reading Bewitchingly Hers, I felt a little slumpy. So I picked up a short story on Kindle Unlimited that came with the audiobook called Resting Scrooge Face by Meghan Quinn. This is the first anything I've ever read by Meghan Quinn, and I fear it made me fall in love with her writing, because after this I read 2 of her full-length books. This was a short story that was only about 80 pages, and it obviously is holiday Christmas themed. Basically, this story follows Caleb and Nola, who were high school sweethearts who ended up breaking up many years later. She comes back to her hometown and ends up running into Caleb. They don't like each other. There is an old man in this story who's a side character who ends up finding a letter that Caleb wrote of him basically just complaining about how much he hates the holiday season when they live in a town that absolutely loves Christmas. So this is obviously kind of like a Grinch retelling. Anyway, this old man finds this letter and he ends up giving it to Nola because he knows that she also kind of feels the same way about Christmas and about their town. She reads the letter, thinks it's hilarious, ends up writing him back, and they just kind of go back and forth with these letters for a good bit of the story. At some point, they're both like, oh my gosh, we kind of like each other, we should meet up. And then they do, and they realize they're exes, and yeah, it ends up being their romance, and it was actually really cute, and I rated it 4 stars. Book number 9 that I read this month, I ended up liking so much, I bought the physical copy, and that is called The Highland Fling by Meghan Quinn. This story follows both, it's dual POV, which is awesome. It follows Bonnie. Bonnie is an American girl who lives in Los Angeles with her best friend, but she is extremely lost in her life. She has no idea what to do for a job. She's just kind of like floating through space with nothing tethering her anywhere. Her best friend ends up answering a random ad that she sees on the internet for a job in Scotland. The ad is asking for a couple of people to come to Scotland temporarily to run a coffee shop by a couple who are going on vacation for like 3 months or something. So they end up answering the ad and they do end up getting the job. They go to Scotland. Once they get there, they end up running into a stormy Scotsman. His name is Rowan, whom they call Grumpy McGrumpshire. If you've never read a Meghan Quinn book, one thing about her, this bitch is hilarious. I mean, laugh out loud. Hilarious. So they end up taking care of this coffee shop. The coffee shop ends up being owned by Rowan's parents, who again are going on vacation for like 3 months. Well, they don't even tell him that they're going on this vacation for 3 months, nor do they tell him that they've hired 2 new American girls to run their coffee shop. So you can see the conflict that kind of ensues there. This is like super grumpy sunshine. I don't know what else to say about this because the plot is really their romance, and there's another part of it that I can't tell you because it will spoil the shit out of it. This was amazing. It was funny. The storytelling was great. The setting being in Scotland is my favorite. Oh my god. And it's on Kindle Unlimited with the audiobook. The narrators in this one, A+. After that, I was like, why not read another Meghan Quinn book? So I picked up book number 10 this month, which was Vacation Wars by Meghan Quinn. Now this one I picked up because I loved the setting so much of Highland Fling. This one also has a really awesome setting, which is in Greece. This story follows Tessa, who is a financial advisor from New York City, and she is on vacation in Greece with her twin sister and their friends. She grew up with her family going to this resort in Greece. So it's like she went there every single summer as a child. She ended up seeing this boy whose name is Miles. However, she was always so shy and awkward that she decided never to actually talk to him. She's got this crush really built up in her head. One day, they end up in a situation where he kisses her cheek, and she's freaking out about it. Because she is so shy and awkward, she has this issue where when she is super uncomfortable, she word vomits, like to the nth degree. And she's doing this after he kisses her on the cheek, and she ends up calling his lips luxurious. After that, they don't really like continue to converse, and then she doesn't see him for 7 summers. In her convoluted brain, she thinks that the fact that he has not been there in 7 summers is obviously because of her calling his lips luxurious, which is a really silly premise, but I was just reading it for the vibes. Anyway, so Flashing forward into the present, she's on vacation with her sister and her friends. Her sister and her friends have this contract. They literally got notarized. In this contract, there are a bunch of rules kind of like binding their friendship together, saying things like the people in this friend group can't live more than 10 miles away from each other. And one of the stipulations is that if they get to the age of 30 and they're not married or seriously dating someone, that their friends get to take over their love life and essentially matchmake for them. So this is where Tessa is right now. Her sister and her friends are taking over her love life. However, Tessa wants absolutely nothing to do with it. She's kind of sworn off love. So she ends up just being really silly and trying to do some things to sabotage what her sister and friends are trying to do for her. In the interim of doing this, she ends up running into Miles again. And they end up actually having a conversation, and she tells him all about this thing going on with her sister and her friends. And he's like, whoa, you're not thinking about this enough. Like, you could be doing so much worse. He essentially ends up helping her try to get her sister and her friends off her back. And that's essentially the whole plot. And obviously along the way, they end up having a romance. I only rated this 3 stars. It just didn't hit the way that the other 2 books that I read by Meghan Quinn did. I don't know. There was something about like the second half of the book that it just, I don't know. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. Moving on to book number 11. Thankfully, this one was much better. I read In the Dark by Chelsea Curto literally the day that it came out. I just so happened to see it on Kindle and the fact that it had just came out, and I was like, what's that? If you are unfamiliar with Chelsea Curto, she is an indie author who thus far has really only published super contemporary and more specifically sports romance. I read one of her sports romances earlier this year. Kind of felt like, you know, I got a taste of what her writing style is like. Well, this new book that she came out with, she even says in her author's note at the beginning of the book to make sure she's finding the right audience, because this book is quite different from her contemporary sports romances. It is a super, super spicy dark romance that follows a female main character named Maxine, who is a rule-following elementary school teacher. And what in the absolute fuck was that? It literally sounded like somebody just threw literal glass into the trash compactor, and it sounded like it shattered behind me. That was really weird. Anyways, the male main character in the story's name is Hunter. He is a scare actor who works for Fright Nights, which is basically Universal's Halloween Horror Nights. And it's literally set in Orlando. Hello. That was interesting. If you didn't know, I live in Orlando. That was something. It's not often that books are set in Orlando. Hunter is a scare actor who works at Fright Nights, but he also moonlights as an assassin, kind of. Technically, he's a serial killer, but he's a serial killer for pay, which is kind of like an assassin. But he's not just shooting people, which is what I think an assassin is. He's a good serial killer, though. He's a good one. He's a vigilante serial killer, if you will. He's going after the scum of the earth who are abusing women and children and absolutely mutilating them and making them suffer. They end up meeting at Fright Nights. Her best friend slash roommate works at Fright Nights, but not as a scare actor. She takes Max to Fright Nights one night because she wants her to see her perform. However, in order for them to get to the part that Skylar is in, they have to go through a haunted house. Max is a scaredy cat, and she is not excited about having to go through this haunted house. When her and her best friend go through said haunted house, they get separated. Well, she ends up stumbling into like the backstage area, which is where she runs into Hunter. The first time that she meets Hunter, they just kind of have some sort of a conversation, and he helps her get back to where she's supposed to be. However, after they leave each other, both of them can't stop thinking about one another. Max decides, I'm gonna do something crazy for once, and I'm gonna go back to Fright Nights, face my fears, try and run into Hunter again because I want him to and boy does he. Like I said, it is very, very spicy. I really enjoyed this book. If you know anything about me, your girl loves a stalker. In books. We love stalkers in books. Was it a stalker romance done right? Yes and no. It was an interesting twist on the stalker trope. Hunter, being wonderful golden retriever man that he is, as he was stalking her, normal stalking stuff, He installed cameras in her house, snuck in and watched her get off. That's the police coming for me talking about this on YouTube right now. Anyway, so in addition to his normal stalkery things, he ends up breaking into her house and doing things like all of her chores that she doesn't have time to get to, buys her entire household groceries, buys her a new mattress. Like, are you kidding me? Where can I get a hunter? I rated this book 4.5 stars. It certainly might not be your cup of tea, but I freaking ate it up. Loved it. The next book that I read this month was The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore by Laurie Gilmore, which is book 2 in the Dream Harbor series, which starts with Pumpkin Spice Cafe. This was cute. I liked it better than book 1, but it still wasn't anything like revolutionary. I still absolutely hate that somehow Laurie Gilmore is getting away in traditional publishing, making dialogue with single quotation marks. My eyes burn when I have to read that with my eyeballs. I don't know. I don't have a lot to say about it other than it was cute, because I would like to wrap this up. The next book that I read this month really caught me off guard because I wasn't necessarily expecting to read it this month, but again, my library holds came in and I simply took advantage. The next book that I read was Heartless Hunter. I want you to see if you can guess how much I liked this book, simply by looking at my tabs. I've never tabbed a book so much in my life. This book single-handedly became not only the best book of the month, but it's probably my number 2 favorite book of the entire year, and possibly has made its way into my God tier of books. I loved this book so much. And if you're wondering, Amanda, did you actually continue and finish the duology? I did. For once, I did. The next book that I read after Heartless Hunter was Rebel Witch. And I obviously liked this one almost as much. If you don't know what these books are about, these books follow a witch named Rune and a witch hunter named Gideon. That is essentially the entire plot. It's basically this big game of cat and mouse where they hate each other, they're not supposed to be together, but then they end up kind of falling in love with each other, but they know that they can't be together, so they're fighting it, and they've both been betrayed before, so they won't let anybody in, and it's just chef's fucking kiss. Loved it. First one, literally 0 notes. Absolute perfection. The second one, I do have a little bit more thoughts on. I really enjoyed it the entire time that I was reading it, up until the climax of the story. It ended a lot differently than I thought it was going to, and that's a good and a bad thing, because I obviously didn't see the resolution coming. However, this was another situation where the author wrapped up this gigantic conflict and situation in literally 10 pages. And I was like, I mean, I don't know how we could have done it differently, but I could have liked it more. But I did absolutely love this. Like I said, I've literally never tabbed a book so much in my life. This book holds such a special place in my heart now. Absolutely amazing. The last book I'm going to talk about, like I said at the beginning, I haven't finished it yet. I will be finishing it before the month of October officially concludes. And that is The Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore, which is the 3rd book in the Dream Harbor series. This one is following, nothing. I don't know either of their names. Anyways, your girl is really tired and really struggling. So I'm gonna go. If you made it this far, if this video sees the light of day, I appreciate you so much for spending your time with me. If you've not already, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.